The Emmys are right around the corner, and as usual, Better Call Saul is nominated once again. Saul has become infamous over the years for being nominated several times over for every season since the show began back in 2015, accruing a total of 53 nominations, and it's won exactly 0 of them. Yeah, the show that if you're watching this video you're probably aware that it's one of the best in recent memory, has won 0 Emmys. You may be wondering how this could be possible, and there's a couple easy reasons to point to. The main one is that there's been some pretty fierce competition ever since Saul started airing. From 2015 to 2019, the critical darling of drama television was Game of Thrones. Even though this was around the time that the quality of that show started rapidly decreasing. It managed to win Best Drama for seasons 5, 6, 7, and 8. And the only reason it didn't sweep every year in a row was because there was a bigger gap between seasons 6 and 7, so it wasn't eligible for the 2017 awards. So when that show finally ended, it seemed like now Saul could have its moment in the spotlight, but then Succession started airing, and that immediately became the new critical darling of drama, to an even greater extent than Thrones was. It got more and more nominations each season, and it has a whopping 27 for season 4, including like half the cast getting acting noms. On top of that, season 4 was the last one for Succession, so you can bet that'll play a factor in the Academy wanting to give the show one more victory lap for good measure. On the contrary though, you could argue that Saul also having ended means that it could boost his chances as well, but we'll talk about that later. Another factor could be that HBO, which owns both Succession and Game of Thrones, is a way bigger name in the TV industry than AMC, and fusses a lot more money to throw at promoting their shows for awards. And the last thing I can think of off the top of my head is that the show is a spin-off / prequel to Breaking Bad, which was already hugely popular at the Emmys, especially towards the end of its run. It could be that the Academy doesn't value a spin-off as highly as an original show, or that they don't want to oversaturate Breaking Bad related stuff with awards and want to give other shows a spotlight, but then again, that doesn't really fit with them giving Best Drama award to Game of Thrones for the entire back half of its run, a back half that gets pretty stinky at points. But anyway, let's have a look at what nominations we got this year. It's nominated for Best Drama Series, Best Lead Actor for Bob Odenkirk and Saul Gone, Best Supporting Actress for Ray Seahorn and Waterworks, and 2 separate writing awards, one for Gordon Smith for Point and Shoot, and one for Peter Gould for Saul Gone. It also got noms for Best Drama Editing for Skip McDonald for Saul Gone, and Best Drama Sound Mixing for Larry Benjamin, Kevin Valentine, and Philip W. Palmer for Saul Gone. Those ones I just listed aren't primetime Emmys though, they're classified as creative arts instead. Probably because they're technical awards that no one except fine art patrons like myself care about. I'm going to take a look at each of the nominations now, and I'll give a prediction whether it'll win or not. And we can all come back to this video after January 15th to laugh at just how wrong I was. I'll start with the lame awards first and work up to the exciting ones. Starting with Best Drama Sound Mixing. I'm not going to pretend I know much about sound mixing. I know a little bit, but definitely not enough to make any concrete predictions. Of the other nominees, I've seen Last of Us, Stranger Things, and Succession. I barely remember anything from Last of Us, so out of the other two, I'd personally look at Stranger Things, which naturally has more opportunities for creative sound than a show where the entire episode is on a boat. Talking about the mixing in Saul Gone, I didn't notice anything particularly special, but nothing that stuck out as bad either. I like when you can just barely hear Chuck yell out if Jimmy's grounded himself, but like I said, I'm basically tone deaf to this stuff, so I'll just predict that Saul won't get the nom and move on. Best Drama Picture Editing. This is a category I would consider myself a bit more knowledgeable on. Saul Gone would be a bit of a tough nut to crack in terms of editing, since especially with that courtroom scene, you've got quite a number of different characters whose reactions we need to see to the various things Saul is rambling about. Skip McDonald does already have experience with big courtroom scenes, since he did edit the chicanery episode, and as such, this scene flows perfectly, always cutting to the right characters at the right time, showing how Kim's expression slightly changes throughout the scene, and the slow-mo sequence at the start is paced to fit the song very well. A small detail I appreciate, but I'm not entirely sure if it falls under editing or cinematography or not, but the way the last shot of Chuck with his lantern dissolves into the wide shot with a bus in the same location as the lantern is a nice detail. And of course there's the slight colour of the flame in Kim's cigarette at the end, which was written into the script, and it's done so subtly that several people I know didn't even notice it on first watch. One incredibly minor gripe I have that doesn't matter at all though, is that I wish the final credits at the end were in colour instead of monochromatic. I just think it would have fit better with it being the last episode. Now let's look at the competition. It's up against The Last of Us, 2 White Lotus episodes, and 3 different Succession episodes. So based on that alone, I'm inclined to give it to one of those. But obvious standout in my eyes is Connor's Wedding, which if you've seen the episode, you'll definitely know why. The way it constantly keeps the audience on the edge of their seat is thanks in big part to the way it's edited. And it's honestly one of the best TV episodes of the year. So I'm gonna say Saul does not get this one. Outstanding Writing for a Drama Series. We've got 2 different writing nominations this year, one for Point and Shoot, and one for Soul Gone. I just want to say right off the bat that Soul Gone absolutely deserves it more than Point, which had some pretty significant problems with how rushed that storyline kinda ended up being. I think that episode is carried more by the acting and the excitement of a first time viewing, more so than the script, which I think is probably the weakest part of it. Soul Gone, on the other hand, is in my opinion a perfect episode that does indeed have amazing acting and directing, but the script is easily what makes it as good as it is. It's actually available online for anyone to read, and even if you're not really interested in screenwriting, I'd still highly recommend giving it a read. It's interesting to see how scenes ended up changing in the final product, like the first scene where Mike and Soul was longer in the original version, and also gives more insight into the context of certain moments. Usually in screenwriting you're not supposed to write what the characters are thinking, but the writers of this show do it anyway, and it honestly makes the screenplays way more engaging to read. If I had to nominate 2 episodes for writing, I would have done Soul Gone and Fun and Games. I think that episode has a much more impressive script than Point since it was able to wrap up several storylines while also hitting hard emotionally. I guess I just like finale type episodes. In terms of a competition, One Way Out is definitely the best Andor episode and has a pretty sick monologue by Stellan Skarsgård, plus Andy Serkis gets a pretty rousing speech when they're all breaking out of the prison. I've already talked about how good Connor's wedding is, thanks to how it just comes out of nowhere after 2 pretty normal episodes. That Last of Us episode's pretty good, and I didn't watch The White Lotus, and I've never even heard of Bad Sisters. I don't watch much TV. Anyway, while I would love for Soul Gone to come out on top, and I do think it has a better chance of Point and Shoot, I feel pretty confident that Succession has this one in the bag. Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Drama Series. And now the big 3, the ones that people actually care about. If we can win even one of these awards, then I'll be satisfied. First off, we have Rhea Seehorn for Supporting Actress, specifically for the episode Waterworks. Rhea was low-key on another level the entire second half of Season 6, minus those 2 episodes she wasn't in. Her performances in Point, Fun, and Waterworks are all seriously good stuff, and choosing Waterworks for a nomination is kind of a no-brainer, since at least half the episode is solely dedicated to her. The standout scene is obviously her breakdown of the bus, which we all know is incredible, but shoutouts also to the scene of her delivering the affidavit to Cheryl, which isn't anything flashy like the bus scene, but I love how you can tell she's just ready to accept whatever punishment comes her way at this point.
I could sue you in civil court. I could take everything you've got.
Yeah.
And there's also her phone call with Jean, where you can see about 1 million emotions running through her at once. The divorce scene of Saul, her talk of Jesse, this entire episode is like an Emmy reel disguised as an episode of TV. As for her competition, I haven't seen any of these shows except for Succession, but White Lotus has a whopping 4 nominations, which could hopefully lead to a split in voting, which I'll get more into when we get to lead actor. Anyways, we all know Rhea is long overdue for her Emmy, considering she wasn't even nominated until last year, despite being especially good in Season 5. With this being the final season and her biggest competitor Sarah Snook being in lead instead of supporting, I honestly think Rhea has a good shot here. I haven't seen The White Lotus, so I couldn't say for sure if she'll get it or not, but I'm feeling optimistic, so I'm gonna lock in the Rhea sweep for my prediction. Outstanding Lead Actor in a Drama Series. Now this is the one I want to win more than any other. Bob Odenkirk played this character for about 14 years, and he only got better and better as Breaking Bad went on, and then became next level when Better Call Saul started. By the time we get to Season 6, he really is at the top of his game, and the episode he's fittingly nominated for, Soul Gone, shows the full range of his capabilities. Throughout the episode, we see him portray like 3 different versions of the same character, that being Gene at the start, Saul Goodman during the Walt and Mike scenes, and also sort of during the scene where he's bartering with the government guys, and lastly we see him as Jimmy McGill during both the Chuck scene and after he confesses to all his crimes.
The name's McGill. I'm James McGill.
The entire courtroom scene is probably the strongest his acting has ever been, as his confession goes from a bit of pride when he's talking about his involvement with Walt.
Fact is, Walter White couldn't have done it without me.
All the way to pain and regret when the story turns to Chuck and Howard. Much like how Waterworks was Kim's episode in the spotlight, the finale is truly all about Jimmy. And let's not forget how he filmed pretty much the entirety of the second half of the season while recovering from a nearly fatal heart attack that happened during Point and Shoot. His dedication to this role is truly unmatched. And now let's discuss the competition. We've got Jeff Bridges for some show I haven't seen. We have 3 separate Succession actors vying for lead roles apparently, and we have Pedro Pascal for Last of Us. Kind of like I said with Rhea and the White Lotus girls, the fact that we have 3 different Succession guys in this one category is giving me hope that the Academy won't just have one guy to put all their votes into, which means Bob can come in and steal the Emmy from under their noses. I mean, we have Brian Cox nominated for lead when he was only really in 2 or 3 episodes. I don't know why they didn't put Kieran in supporting for an easy win, even though he did have some powerhouse moments of this season, specifically the 9th episode, which is the one he's nominated for. Jeremy Strong has always been legendary as Kendall, and he has some pretty great scenes in the series finale. I wouldn't be mad if he wins, but he's already won before for season 2, which is still his best work in my opinion, and I think Odenkirk is pretty much unmatched, even with my obvious bias towards his role. If there was ever a time for him to win Best Actor, it's now. And at last, will Better Call Saul be crowned as the best drama series? Obviously this is my favourite show, and as such I would definitely give it the crown, even if it wasn't my favourite season, but I gotta say the competition has been really good as well. We've got Andor, which while I didn't love it as much as everyone on Twitter, I still thought it was good and a huge step up from any of the other Disney Plus crap. There's House of the Dragon, which surprised me of just how awesome it was, honestly on par with the best of early Game of Thrones, especially those first few episodes.
So I see Otto Hightower for what he is.
An unwavering and loyal hand.
A cunt!
There's The Last of Us, which is pretty good for a video game adaptation, even though I haven't actually played the game. Succession was great as usual, although not quite as good as season 1 or 2 for me, and I didn't watch any of the other stuff. If I was the one voting, I would honestly give it to House of the Dragon, but if I had to predict which one would win, I think it's a pretty safe bet that Succession has it in the bag. It's the final season, so it's got that boost, and it also has the most nominations by far, and you know what? I can live with that. As long as Bob Odenkirk and Ray Seahorn get their long-deserved Emmys, I'm fine with Succession getting the last laugh. So there's my thoughts on all the Emmy nominations for Better Call Saul. While it may be easy to say that it won't win anything as is tradition, I'm feeling a lot more confident this time around. We'll see how right or wrong I am on January 15th. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video very soon.